Time to go get groceries because I'm all out. So come with me as I go for a walk to the next town and I talk about choosing your own path. And so what does it really take to choose your own path? One of the things that it takes is knowing yourself. Before you even really start blazing your own trail, you have to spend some time getting to know yourself. We usually know ourselves by the role that we play in other people's lives. But until you take that time to begin to really understand yourself, you're not necessarily going to be able to blaze your own trail and choose your own path because you don't know what that is. And I will say, it's that when you do that, when you begin to understand yourself, which is exploring what you value, like what do you really actually deeply value, and if you don't quite know, looking at what has brought you the most excitement, what has created the most life-giving, inspiring energy for you, or even what you've been curious about, or the times in your life when I was pursuing something where I felt most free, or I felt most creative, or I felt most autonomous, or I felt most connected and collaborative. That felt like it was my energy, like it felt so me. So you can begin to explore who you are in a multitude of ways. And sometimes too, you can explore who you are by what's not working, right? So sometimes that is the most obvious thing. This type of work doesn't work for me. Why? What about it doesn't work for you? This type of relationship doesn't work for me. Why? Why doesn't that relationship work for you? Or this way of living doesn't work for me. Why? What about it doesn't work for you? Because then what you can do is you can take what you're learning about what doesn't work for you, flip it on its head and say, hey, these other things then might work for me. So the opposite of this might work for me, and it's not always straightforward. Like if this one particular job, the opposite of that might not work for you either, but you're getting these clues. And all you really need are a few clues to begin to take those steps. You need to make some adjustments in your life or go on an adventure or do something slightly more bold. And then you'll learn more about yourself. Like it's not the static thing. Choosing your own path is not a static adventure. It's not a static event. It's not this one-time decision. It is a continual learning of yourself, a continual expression, a continual evolution of you. And it's a commitment to that evolution, a commitment to the journey, to the process, not necessarily an outcome. Because you don't know where you're headed. You don't know what the end is going to look like. You don't fully know yourself yet. And you'll never fully know yourself in the sense that you aren't a static being either. Like the path isn't a static event, and you yourself aren't a static being. You are something that evolves and grows over time. You're going to become so much in your life if you allow yourself to go on that adventure, to go on that journey. So choosing your own path takes that curiosity, and it takes that investigation, that exploration of who you are. And then it takes courage. It takes courage to step out and take little risks. Right? Because you're going to be diverging from the path, and people are not going to always agree with that, or quite often may not agree with that. They'll be pushing and pressuring you to get back on what you were trained to do, what you were socialized to do. But there are little steps where, as you take them, you build your courage in being able to face social pressure, and being able to be autonomous, be sovereign in your own life. And then B, like you don't know who you are over there. So there's courage that is needed to take those steps so that you can find out who you are as you diverge from maybe the path you've been on for a long time. And also because you don't know what's over there. To face the unknown takes courage. And courage is that action, that moving forward in the face of fear. So you will feel afraid. When I left on my international adventure, my nomadic adventure, I was first really excited, right? I'm like, ooh, cool, I'm doing this thing. And then the fear set in because I realized I'm actually going now. It's happening in like 2 weeks. And I remember there were moments of just really having the fear wash over me of, wow, I'm actually taking this step. But then you're in it and you're moving. Once I got to the airport, I noticed the fear wasn't necessarily there. Like there was overwhelm, there was some trepidation, but I wasn't afraid like I was before I just started the journey. Sometimes that anticipatory fear can be the biggest thing. But know when you begin to take those steps, even just a little bit by little bit. It's always one foot in front of the other. You don't have to jump. You don't have to leap. It's just that even if you are taking a leap, like that was kind of a leap for me, it involves one step at a time. And as I was actually in it and moving forward, then it's just the adventure of living, right? Now you're here, now you're in it. You're not anticipating the fear, you're just in it and you're moving through it and you're taking the steps and there's action. So choosing your own path is a really powerful thing, and it is your life. It is your life. You have to choose your own path. Or what? Are you living someone else's life? So even if it's in small ways, maybe the path that people laid before you fits you really well, but there's just little elements that don't quite. So this doesn't have to be some dramatic thing. It can be if that's for you, but it doesn't have to be, right? So just because I went off on a nomadic adventure does not mean you will want to do that. But maybe there's some things that if you really locked it in as your own and you took sovereignty, ownership over those things, it would actually create much more fulfillment for you in your life. So what are those things? What is that for you? And so along with that curiosity, that exploration of self, and that courage to take the next steps, there's also an element of looking at it as an experiment, right? Choosing your own path is not a right or a wrong. There's not just two lanes and like, this one's right, this one's wrong. It's an experiment. It's a grand, beautiful adventure of living. So really unlearning that internalized black and white fear of getting it wrong, right? So unlearning that perfectionism that we often take on in our life. Or that need that if I go my own way, it needs to look successful really fast to prove to those other people, right? In my long video, I don't know if anybody's gonna watch it, where I talked to him for a while, for about an hour, the one right before this one. I mentioned that, like, if you find yourself thinking, okay, even if I go off on my own, I need to be successful so that I can show that I'm success, that it was the right move, right? So you're still thinking right and wrong. Your own path is an experiment. There's no right or wrong. I'm learning, I'm learning, and okay, that didn't quite work out, but and keep going. It's a big yes and experiment, like an improv. But if I'm saying I need to show something, if I'm in that mind frame, who am I centering? I'm centering everybody else, the people I think I have to prove something to, and who need to validate my life choices, right? So if you feel like you're having to show something, having to prove something, having to make it okay for the people so that you can feel okay with it, that's an invitation to recenter yourself in your life, to come back to your own ownership over this beautiful experiment of life, this adventure. Even experiment doesn't quite capture it, because experiment, you're still kind of looking for a result, right? I mean, yes, the result that you're looking for is that your life feels so much yours, that you feel so fulfilled in what you're doing. So yes, there is that. And it's an adventure. It's so that you are alive while you're here, so that you're alive while you're here. So that continual invitation to yourself to unlearn that habit of centering everybody else but yourself, and to allow yourself to continually come back and seat yourself as the one who is over your life. You're sovereign over your life. It can feel like a huge responsibility, because it is, but it's also an amazing adventure, as I've been saying. So these are some of my thoughts on choosing your own path. I'd love to hear what you're doing in regard to choosing your own path. Is it a small step? Is it a big step? Are you also nomading out in the world and traveling and seeing things? What's going on for you? What are you curious about? I want to know. And if you want support on that journey, I am a coach, and I can offer that support as someone who's out here on my own journey. You know where to find me. I'll see you again soon.